When it comes to pig farming, there are four things that basically determine the profitability of your pig farm. The first one is the quality of your breeding stock. If you are a farmer or someone who wants to start a pig farm, it's always advised that you begin your pig farm with quality breeding stock, pure breeds that have good genetics. Because if you start with the poor breeds, if you start with bad breeds, it's going to affect the profitability of your pig farm, which means your pigs will not grow fast, which means all the feeds you give to your pig will not basically turn to body weight, because these pigs are poor converters. This is why I always tell people, start with the right breeds. You can never go wrong with the right breeds. If a pig can gain 100 kg in 6 months, imagine now starting with a poor breed that within that 6 months you can only do 40 kg. That means you are always going to be at a loss. No matter what you do, no matter the feed you give them, no matter the management practices you input into running your pig farm, you still not be profitable, because the major thing you are selling, which is the product, which is your pig, cannot gain body weight. This is why most pig farms always have problems, because they began with poor breeds that cannot convert body weight, breeds that cannot grow well, and basically breeds that eat their food, and basically not produce enough meat to cover up the expenses. This is the first mistake that most farmers make, because the right breeds can make you profitable, and the bad breeds can make you run your farm at a huge loss. So even if you have a farm that your breeds are not so good, what you should do is start buying those breeds that have good genetics and slowly fade off the old ones, and you can never go wrong by doing this. The second thing that determines the profitability of your pig farm is the quality of the feed you give to your pigs by age, not just feeding your pigs. You have to feed them by age. What these guys will eat, these guys are about 2 months, about 3 months. What these guys will eat will be far different from what these guys will eat. These guys are over 6 months, while these guys are still under 6 months. These guys are still our growers, while these guys are the finishers. These 3 guys you are seeing here, they are the finishers. They are the finishers. So what these guys will eat will be very different from what these guys will eat. So the diet you give to your pig is as important as the genetics of your pig, because these are the 2 major things that will determine your profitability in pig farming. So feed your pigs well. Don't just use anything to feed your pigs, because pigs, like I always say, is what you give to them is what they will produce for you. Garbage in, garbage out. That's what they will produce for you. So you must feed your pigs well, which is why I always tell people, before you start a pig farm, you must plan yourself very well financially, because pigs are heavy eaters. They eat, and they eat. And if you don't feed them well, they will not give that thing that you really want from them, which is profitability. For your pig to be robust, for it to look healthy, for it to look fat, for it to look big, it has to eat well. Not just eating well, it has to eat what is meant for it. Which is why at every stage of your pig's growth, you must know what to give them. The feeds I give to these ones is much different from the ones I give to these ones. What these guys are eating mostly has more of fiber in them, because as they grow older, you have to input more fibrous feeds to reduce costs. Whereas as these ones are still in their growing stage, you have to give them a lot of good nutritious food, which means you have to lower down on your fiber, even though it's cheaper these days, but you still have to cut down on those things to be able to maximize their growth. So always know what to give to your pigs at each stage of their growth, else they will struggle to grow. Just like little babies. When a baby is little, you have to give it milk, all those stuff they buy for babies. You have to give it to them, which is very, very expensive, which is far more nutritious than what we as adults eat. Because if you don't give them those things, those children will not grow well. So it's the same thing with pigs. You have to feed your animals well at each stage of their growth. Now, if you want a detailed guide on how to feed your pigs
at each stage of their growth. You can easily get the ebook I always talk about. I detailed every single feed I give to these pigs at each stage of their growth. So get that ebook. I would advise you to get it. So you have to always learn how to feed them, because feeding determines your profitability as a pig farmer. Trust me, you have to feed them well. Not just feeding them anything, feed them well. The third thing that will determine the profitability of your pig farm is the consistency of your reproduction. If you run a pig farm, most likely here in Nigeria, buying pigs and fattening them doesn't make you any profit, because personally I've tried it. It doesn't work. It doesn't make any profit. Even if you have to make profit, it's not going to be reasonable profit. But mind you, I'm talking from my own experience. Your own experience might be much different. But as someone who has done it, it's not profitable. So the only option you have is to reproduce your own pigs at your own farm. To produce your own pigs at your own farm. Not buying from outside and then fattening them and then selling them off. It's very risky, because you can even contact ASF from all these other farms. So this is why you must always produce your own pigs at your farm. Now, if you really want to be profitable, you have to have a consistent reproduction cycle. Your pigs always have to be giving birth. If your pigs are not always giving birth, that means the amount of pigs you can put to the market is going to be very, very low. And pig farming, just like every other business, is a business of scale. If you are not making profit at a scale, then the profit may not be that reasonable. It may not be useful at all. So you have to have a consistent reproduction management, which means you have to always know when your pigs are in heat, when they are about to give birth, when they are about to go into labor, how to care for your piglets, how to care for the newborn piglets, and all those things. You must have all this knowledge at the back of your hand, because if you're not producing, if your pigs are not reproducing, you cannot have pigs to fatten. Mind you, I'm in the fattening section of our farm. You all know the other side, I usually make the other videos, is where the pigs reproduce. So here is the fattening section. All these guys here are all fatteners. These guys are fatteners, the pigs we are fattening. When we finish fattening them, we can now choose the ones we'll keep for the production and the ones we sell off. So you must have consistent reproduction management at your farm, because if your production units cannot service your fattening units, there is a big problem. Before you know it, the amount of pigs you are selling will go down, and your profit will also be dragged down with it. And by doing so, by that happening, you become unprofitable. You start having issues with your profits. So this is the third thing that will determine the profitability of your pig farm. The fourth one is market demand. For you to be able to make profits running a pig farm, you must understand the market dynamics of your environment, because most times the people that will be your number one consumers are those in your environment, those in your city, those in your state, and those in your region. So before you start a pig farm, I always tell people this: make sure you understand the market demand of pigs in your area. Don't just start a pig farm without making your researches. Ask yourself, what is the market demand for pork in my area? Do people in my area or in my state or in my region consume pork? Do they consume it? Because the major demand of pigs are the meat chain, are the butchers, are the cold rooms, are the supermarkets, are the guys who buy and slaughter in quantity. So even if you want to sell to farmers, your fellow farmers, the major demand still is the guys who turn pigs into pork. You cannot compare their demand to that of farmers. 90% of the pigs I sell here are direct to the butcher's table. So the demand for pork is far more higher than the one for farmers. So you have to ask yourself, do people in my area eat pork? Do they eat it? How much in demand is it? If there is no demand for it, that means you are going to struggle to make sales. And when you begin to struggle to make sales, you can't even sell at a high price, which means you are going to be begging people to even buy your animals once they are ready for the market. So this is why you have to understand the demands of pigs in your area. Don't start a pig farm when you know that there is no demand for it. You struggle to make sales. You'll be the one pleading with them, come and buy my pigs, please, because there is nobody is coming to buy it. And when you are begging them, they will sense that, okay, we can buy this thing at a very cheap price. Before you know it, you won't even make any, you won't even recoup your capital. So understand the market demands of pigs in your area. Else, you will struggle a lot. Trust me, you will struggle. So try to make your researches and see if it's in high demand. If pigs are in high demand in your area, trust me, you'll make a lot of profits. But if there's no demand for it, just like not going to a north to start a pig farm, you most likely not even make any profit. You most likely not, because there is less demand for pork in those areas, unlike here in southern Nigeria, where there is a high level of demand. So these are the 4 things that will determine the profitability and success of your pig farm.